RuneScape announced 120 construction at the start of 2026, but there's been no information about it until now. That has not stopped players from suggesting things though, and I have a whole video of massively cool suggestions, you should check that out. But now let's hop into Jagex's blog and see what their plan is for 120 construction. They start off by saying that this is a very early look because the update is coming out this summer, many months from now, but that means it's a great opportunity to give feedback if you like some ideas, if you don't like some ideas, or if you've got brand new ideas, do let them know through the official discussion threads. Be that through Reddit, or you can drop your ideas below in the comments as well. They also say that this update aims to be easily built upon and expanded, which is something they've been saying about updates as long as I can remember, to be honest, but it's good that they still have that idea in mind at least. So firstly, what is Jagex's vision for construction and the player-owned house? They say construction should be rooted in-game as the housing skill. Now this is what it started off as you can see in old school, they've largely stuck to that, but in RuneScape 3, we've built a fort now, so it's more like a building the foundations of a large structure skill. At the moment they say existing player-owned houses feel like something you create and then forget about, with a handful of additional niche cases like, you know, the armor storage. With this update, they want to create a place where players want to return to their house as often as possible, maybe for short amounts of time, but they want every time you visit it to be a worthwhile experience, creating a sort of loop that integrates nicely into your gameplay sessions. The house should offer you high utility features with functionality that is useful to tap into between most of your activities in RuneScape. Not to mention the chance to build and collect hundreds of player-owned house items. They give an example of what they're thinking. If you're doing Slayer, farming, archaeology, maybe something else, the house could be a place to drop into while you're doing those activities. They do stress though that they want it to be a simple experience, not to add extra complexity to your existing training methods. They also want to put more focus on the player-owned house being an embodiment of your experience playing the game, so reflect and show off the goals that you've completed in-game. They do also say that player-owned houses these days are quite a lonely experience. There's no house parties going on anymore. So they want to emphasize the social experience again. Though they're not looking to add full bank access to the house or create new workbenches that would enable skilling there. That just kind of further incentivizes solo play in an instance where nobody can see you. But they've got some ideas that they will reveal further into the blog. So firstly, they want to let you hyper-customize your player-owned house, simplify the building system, and allow you to place items and rooms relatively freely. They say they've decoupled furniture from specific rooms, so you can now add any kind of furniture to any kind of room. Want to put your food larder in your bedroom? Be their guest. Midnight snack, anyone? Though they say there will be some rules like not growing a massive tree inside your house in the room. I imagine that gardens would be separate from indoor areas, so you just wouldn't be able to put plants inside. But potted plants perhaps could work. The main idea is to give you freedom to customize something awesome. It also sounds like they're gonna let you use different wall kits together as well, mixing up a cozy mountain cabin with a beach house, for example. They say the system they're developing will allow you to click on any tile to place an object, and then also click and drag it anywhere else to swap around a spot. You'll also be able to hang stuff from the walls, and even be able to select multiple objects to quickly and easily move things around. And finally, they will add rotation to objects, letting you turn them as much as you want. So frankly, to me, all of this sounds amazing so far, but how are they going to be able to do it? It sounds incredibly ambitious. Like, sure, these are all good ideas, but is it possible? On the topic of room shapes, they say that pain point at the moment is that all the rooms look the same. They're all squares just placed next to each other. So they want to get rid of that limitation. They want to add new room shapes beyond the simple single square, add corridors, octagons, larger and smaller sized squares, along with cross pieces. These could be transitional rooms that lead you to different parts of the house. Their goal is to unlock our creativity so we can create our dream house. Now for furniture, they say they're reconsidering how construction is leveled up. They say the old format of building something over and over and over again doesn't really fit in with the new system, especially now that they've detached the furniture spots from the rooms. So they say instead of you building an item on a spot now, you'll be building objects instead. Now this does sound largely the same, but they say think of it as creating furniture items that you can place around your house. And these objects will be placed into your player-owned house inventory. So the house objects operate on a separate storage system than, let's say, your bank or your inventory. And they also say if you're not happy with where you place something, don't have to worry about it. You can just pull it up and send it right back into your player-owned house inventory. That means you don't have to pay 25 million coins to build another demonic throne. You can just store it away and place it out when you want to. Or maybe you feel like scattering loads of demonic thrones everywhere. Be their guest, do exactly what you want. Build a full room just of demonic thrones. ModFox has given us some concept art of updated models for some of the objects. We've got demonic throne, gives a red stone with some gold in it. Crystal throne is just crystal. Skeleton throne, bones. I think that might be themes that they're going with for furniture. Can we please rename skeleton throne the bone throne though? They also want to reassure everyone that the existing furniture will continue to work exactly like it does. If there's a seat you can sit in, you'll still be able to sit in it. But they also want to add more functionality to furnitures that don't have any interactions. And with the addition of a toilet in Haven Height, maybe the idea of taking a shit in your house isn't so far-fetched anymore. Or, you know, beds that you can sleep in. They've also got some new useful furniture, thinking of the Portal Nexus, which is inspired by old school RuneScape's one. Aim of this is to help you get around Gielinor a lot faster. An artifact storage to help you organize your archaeology artifacts. Should free up a lot of bank space for some people as well. And a potion cauldron, which we've seen a couple times during bossing events, would allow you to fill it up with potions and then sip it and last an extended duration from the cauldron. Now they say these are all still ideas and they're not sure what will be added in the final version, but these are some things that they're thinking about. And of course they're always looking for more ideas, so go ahead and give them some if you've got some cool ideas cooking. Mod DeBarker has given some concept art of the Portal Nexus and what that could look like. Of course drawing inspiration from the old school style, and frankly I think it looks fantastic. I really like the look of it. All of these are cool concepts, really. I'm thinking C or D probably looks the closest to the old school one, but it doesn't have to look identical. It could be F, for example. I think that one's kind of neat. A has more of a compass kind of vibe to it with these spikes on it. I don't see any reason why we couldn't have multiple different cosmetic versions of it. But as for a base one, I do really like A, personally. Following on, they want to talk about decorative furniture because they want to add a bunch of that. These aim to add flavor to your house. A lot of them focusing on celebrating your adventure and achievements through the game. Some of these could be tied to quests, for example. Some of them could be different achievement-related things to show off. They say they have a lot of ideas, but they would like to hear from us as well, so do share your thoughts on that. I can imagine landscape or portraits of different quest series, for example, could be cool. Could also potentially have statues reflecting important characters in quests. Why stop at quests? We could add boss statues. If you have a boss you've done a certain amount of kill count for, maybe you could create a statue for the boss. If you got the collection log, make the statue turn to gold. Like, you know, why not? They do say though that with all this new tech and new player-owned house systems, they will be decommissioning the old player-owned houses. So you won't be able to go in and create things on hotspots anymore because this would effectively be replacing the old system. They say with this update, they want to give us all an opportunity for a fresh start with our houses, but that does not mean that they're deleting our houses. Well, at least sort of. They're deleting the house, but they are taking all the furniture you've built inside the house and creating objects out of it. That means if you've got a pretty stacked house at the moment, you'll start off with a bunch of objects that you can place around all over your house once this update goes live. Saying that if you have old player-owned house furniture that exists in the new player-owned house system, it will automatically be converted into an associated object for you to place around. But the wording here is interesting. They say if the furniture exists in the new system, so they may be planning to reduce or remove certain objects from the game, and those would not be moved over. So that could potentially be lower level furniture, things that don't have much significance. Who knows what they will add and what they won't. I'm thinking though that all the expensive furniture will very likely be moved to the new system. They also mentioned something called shared communities. Don't have a final name for it though yet. They say it's a work in progress. This is an idea to make the construction rework feel more social. So they say, what if you had a little community of houses and you could, for example, go visit your friend's house and see your house in the distance from their house, so it's down the road from them. That's their idea behind shared community housing. They say that this part needs its own larger blog though, because there's a lot to talk about, and they'll share more about that later down the line. All they wanted to do was mention it so that we have an idea of where their thoughts are at and what they're looking into. And they say that this does bring into question the player-owned house's placement within the world of Gielinor itself. And that's all for today. So they didn't show a whole lot, but they did talk about where their head is at. And personally, to me, I love the sound of these things, but it does sound awfully ambitious, doesn't it? Like, this is how housing is in a lot of other games. You're allowed to place things around, maybe in a grid. RuneScape would be sort of like that. Some places have tinier grids than RuneScape, so you can be more intricate and place things in more detailed location, but I really like the words that are coming out of their mouth with this one. Do I believe that they can pull it off? Yeah, I'm a little bit on the fence. Like, I'm hesitant about it because it sounds too good to be true. Like, I like your words, Magic Man, but I don't know if you can pull it off or not. I'm not the only one who likes their magic words, though. 95% upvote. That is very high. Seems exciting. Teleports really need to be worth traveling to your house first, though. Love the ideas, though. Archaeology relics are decimating his bank on the group Iron Man. It is true, though, that RuneScape has very easy access to a lot of teleport systems, so the portal nexus on RuneScape 3 would not be as useful as it is in old school RuneScape. Interestingly enough, also, there are ways to get infinite teleports for no runes through archaeology relics. It's a tricky situation fitting the player-owned house into bossing in RuneScape 3 because you'd just go to War's Retreat, recharge your prayer, bank, and then you'd be off to the boss again. So if you're going to the house as well in between there, what would you be doing at the house? At that point, I think it would be better to have player-owned houses be a pit stop that you go to at the start of your bossing session. You could say Potion Cauldron, but then why don't we just have the Potion Cauldron in War's Retreat where everything else is? Could you add a boss portal in your house? Then you don't have to detour to War's Retreat, but then you lose out on the bank. And they said they didn't want to add banks to the player-owned house, so how do they tie those together? Another thing I've been thinking of is it needs to be convenient to get to your house because it's incredibly convenient to get to War's Retreat where there's a bank. And you only need 60 combat and 10 boss kills to go to War's Retreat for the bank access. And then it struck me, what if you created your own lodestone inside your house? That way, you've got to teleport through the lodestone menu that goes directly into your house. It would still use charges to teleport because you just fill up your quick charges through that. That way you don't need runes with you to teleport to your house. Could also be a system in place where the portal nexus gives you a teleport to your house. Not sure what the level requirements would be for that, but at the moment it's a little bit inconvenient going to your house because you don't always have the runes to teleport there. You can even keybind the lodestone teleports individually, so you could just drag the teleport to your house onto your action bar and it would be ready to go. There have been a couple comments here saying that lodestones are overpowered and they should just be removed completely because that would give incentive to do the housing thing, which does make sense, but I don't know if that's something that most people would be happy about because I know the lodestone network is very popular. So it could be a controversial take to suggest removing lodestones altogether. Skillers would not want to train magic to get their teleports unlocked, but it is true that lodestones massively devalue the magic teleports as it is. Then you could also say the infinite teleports, War's Retreat, or player-owned farm, or max guild, those that don't require any charge to cast. Those are also quite powerful. But yeah, some people are saying it doesn't feel bad that a top-tier player-owned house, Nexus, might be able to provide you a free teleport to your house. They're referencing that as a green teleport because green teleports are the free ones that don't cost any runes. Who are you to tell me I can't put trees in my bathroom? I'm organizing a riot. The Sims 5 is here. I really enjoyed the desired outcome of the rework. Shafting my old house for the purpose of a better system is 100% worth it. There's a lot of people talking about the teleporting issue and that Portal Nexus doesn't necessarily have as many use cases as in old school. Another thing I would like to see improved is the loading times for the house, because as it is, it takes a little bit, right, to load the house. Would there be a way to speed this up somehow? I mean, obviously the game needs time to load the house itself because it's loading it into memory. It's not always loaded. It's loaded on demand, right? So the instance for the house itself isn't always there until you teleport into it, and that's when it's loaded. Having a better costume room with more outfits in it, even a system that lets you place in individual items like old school has, would be a big step up. Let me open my own museum. A lot of love for the idea of a mannequin letting you place a helmet, cape, torso, legs, gloves, and boots on it. Show off armor sets, for example. A weapon display would also be very popular. Potentially new boss drops. Zuck Throne, Sanctum Braziers, a masked cat tree. Getting rare items from bosses that you could then place in your house to show off. Would this be part of the collection log? It probably would, right? Would wipe all of the completions from the collection logs. You have to go back to every single boss now to get these drops. I don't hate the idea of visiting the house in between steps, but it is directly competing with War's Retreat. If you don't add a bank to the house, it is a worse version of War's Retreat. They bring up that the player-owned house is in a very awkward position because we have so many other quality of life features. If they can't load their preset or bank there, there's no point in stopping there between Slayer and skilling tasks. If it doesn't have boss portals or adrenaline crystals, there's no point in going there between bosses. And even if it did have those features, it would still be competing directly with War's Retreat because War's Retreat is so good. If you need to grab runes to use your player-owned house, it probably is not worth it over Wars anyway. They don't want to sound dismissive, but this is the reality of the situation with the player-owned house rework. It needs to be accessible enough because there are so many easy ways to bank already. So you'd either have to remove these conveniences from people and lock it behind construction, which would upset people. Otherwise, you'd have to make it as good or stronger than the existing systems. This person says when Fort came out, they were hoping that the Fort design would be implemented in multiple places, like say being able to upgrade War's Retreat, the Max Guild, or Anachronia to make them more convenient hubs that you could stop by in, but that was never implemented. This person says they'd like to see fairy rings and spirit trees like in old school. I think that's a good idea. I'm not sure how useful it would be though, because in Invention you can create portable fairy rings and portable spirit trees. Now sure, they do cost a little bit to make, and it is a massive convenience to have a spirit tree or a fairy ring in your house that you can just teleport to easily and then access it like that. So I do think it's a good idea, and I would like to see it added as well. I'm just saying that RuneScape does have more options for these kinds of teleports already. That's also why I don't think a jewelry case would be that useful in RuneScape, because we already have the item Passage of the Abyss, lets you store jewelry into it and have that massive list of all your jewelry items in your inventory. And even if you were to say jewelry box has infinite charges, Passage of the Abyss has infinite charges if you upgrade it as well through an Onyx core. Shared community could be a little community of 5 houses where you can use all the amenities in each of the houses. Someone brought up the idea of being able to send mail to other players that might be offline, and then you could read your mail later when you get on. I think that's a cool idea. Though, obviously, hate mail might be a thing that gets sent to some people as well. You might need some limitations on it. I was a player-owned house rework skeptic before this, but Jagex, you have my attention now. Please make sure the housing feels somewhat in the world. Currently, it's just some place in the void. It could still be an instanced island, for example, but just make it feel more naturally into the world. And I completely agree with that. I would like to see it just fit more into the overall world. Be that a forest or a beach, different biomes that your house would exist in. For the potion cauldron, a lot of people are suggesting 1 hour for the potion duration. This matches up with how long instances for bosses exist at the moment. After an hour, the boss will stop respawning inside the instance and you have to make a new one. I hope we get a golden sink, golden toilet. This person's loved the new World of Warcraft housing system that just got released, so this blog has them very excited for RuneScape's one too. Being able to enter your house from any house portal would be useful. Here's another suggestion for statues from bosses you've completed the respective log for. Display case for notable drops. Maybe a panel that lights up when you hit 99s or 120s or 200 mils. Achievement diary plaques. Maybe a combat achievement display. Someone mentioned a farming plot for herbs. I still really like the idea of a greenhouse kind of room. I don't know if it would have specific plants to player-owned housing or if you'd have like a herb patch in there, but this person really likes their house being a private place, so please don't let everyone walk in if they want to. Stranger danger, that seems fair. You should be able to stay in your house by yourself if you want to. A couple people are wondering what will happen to costume room items. Will we keep all the items inside the wardrobes, chests, and all that? I feel like we would. It seems like a weird idea for them to remove all of that, especially because some people, like myself, have pretty much filled the entire costume room up. Similar concern for the pet storage. Will the pets still stay around or will they be removed? Big, massive garden with ponds, statues, patches, trees. Don't forget about the completionist Damarok statue. A lot of suggestions from old school things, but there's some original ideas in there too. I like this meme though. Jagex, hey guys, we're messing with the player-owned house code. Duriel 321 has been unleashed. Somewhere in the dark depths of the void space, Cursed You has awoken once more. He whispers, house party at mine. World 39. Cursed You got 99 construction in 5 days. Also got banned for real world trading though. A Falador massacre with EOC combat would truly be a sight to see. Imagine having a Tumakin's Light, entire crowds would die in seconds. Some other popular suggestions: player-owned house bookcase rework. Store all your books and track player progress towards collecting every single book in the game. Various amounts of books could give you various titles. Could even have some librarian robes. Stressing that the potion cauldron should not have an infinite amount of drinks in it. You should have to refill it up. Just make sure the capacity is massive on it so you don't have to keep refilling it all the time. Make sure chairs can be sat on, beds can be rested on, larders can store food, baths can be bathed in, and toilets can be used. There's a bed in the second floor of the town hall in Fort 4 and 3, clearly ours, and yet I can't put my world guardian to bed. I usually close the game down for the night in the fort by the bed. Oh, that's some role-playing level of dedication. Please let us use player-owned houses of people not there in their house at the time. Player burglary update for thieving. I would like to see skill cape racks to display my skill capes. A lot of cool suggestions though. Drop yours below. You can also leave them in the feedback threads. Like I said, this sounds incredibly ambitious and I'm very excited for it. I'm just hesitant about it being possible. I would love it if they could make it like this though. It sounds really good. do check out my Future of 120 Construction video for a massive design document full of player suggestions for the 120 Construction update. Like, subscribe, see you later.